Hello, welcome to my third finance video. The first one talked about general tips, the second one talked about immigrant budget tips, and today I want to talk about saving money on food. How to have the lowest possible grocery budget that you could have. Ever since COVID, I feel like it's incredibly difficult to buy groceries that are affordable while also meeting all your nutrition needs. I really hope this video speaks to you and helps you in your grocery journey. Number one, okay, this is gonna seem a little wild, but I actually grocery shop only once a month. I have found that grocery shopping once a month allows me to save money on gas or transit fees. It restricts me to use fewer ingredients because I'm only using what I have at home. And once you figure out how to store produce or items that don't last as long, it's actually a really cool system. I do keep $30 every month for like emergency or last minute groceries that I might have forgotten to buy at the start of the month, or that I couldn't have bought at the start of the month because they would wilt in like 2 days. Basil. Number two is shopping at immigrant stores. I find that Indian grocery stores have such affordable beans and lentils and rice, and East Asian stores have really wonderful produce. Now, because I do shop only once a month, this means that if I decide to go to an immigrant store, then I'm most likely gonna make food that month that is primarily from that cuisine. Sometimes I shop exclusively at T&T, and all the meals that I make for that month are going to be Chinese or Korean or Japanese. Tip number three is not to buy ingredients in bulk unless I'm actually going to use that much of the ingredient. Growing up, my family would buy big ass Indian spice bags. Yes, if you're cooking Indian food every single day, buying that makes a lot of sense. But for someone like me who cooks Indian food once a week, a few times a month, I'm not gonna make use of that spice bag. And it's just gonna lie in my cupboard and it's gonna get old and the spices aren't gonna be as potent. So I would rather buy a small little spice bag that I actually use up. Tip number four is buying ingredients that you're going to use multiple times and not just once. This reduces the risk of having half open bags of way too many things that you don't end up using. And it also might make you feel less overwhelmed when thinking about what to make because you don't have as many ingredients to choose from at home. Number five, if you don't want to follow tip number four and you want to buy an ingredient you're not familiar with to explore a new cuisine, that is totally okay, as long as you make sure you use that ingredient multiple times. Tip number six, flyer deals. So I mentioned this in my video about grocery budgets and meal prep, but it is something that has exponentially brought my grocery budget down. Before you go into a store, check the flyer to see what's on sale. When you enter the store, check the discounted rack to see what produce you can get for cheaper. Now, I will say this does require a little bit of spontaneity and creativity. You might have an idea of what you wanted to cook that week, but when you check the flyer or the discounted rack, you might realize you want to cook something else instead. You might have to substitute one vegetable for another. You might have to find ways to use up a lot of one ingredient. Being able to master this takes time and patience and honestly trial and error, but in the long run it saves you so much money. Tip number seven is incorporating fast foods and snacks in your budget. I don't think it's fair to ask people to not go out to eat at all and only make meals at home. There are days when you don't have the energy to cook, or you're just really craving a certain type of food that you don't know how to make. What instant meals and snacks help with is reducing how much you're going to want to eat out. You don't have the energy to cook? That's fine. Dinner will be ready in 5 minutes. You're really craving a certain snack? Good thing you bought that snack as part of your grocery budget. Tip number 8 is an extension of tip number 7. Just like instant meals and snacks can help reduce the chance of you going out to eat, so can recreating any food fantasies you might have. So what I mean by this is I love bubble tea, and having bubble tea brings me so much joy. I don't have the money to afford more than one bubble tea a month. So instead, I make bubble tea at home. If there is a certain food or drink that you love that's really expensive to buy, see if there's a way you can make it at home and incorporate that into your grocery budget. Find ways to use the same ingredients you would use for groceries for your food fantasies. I have straight up used beets to make a latte, and it was delicious. Tip number 9, my final tip, is if you are considered lower income, to look into your local food bank. My partner and I started doing this a few months ago, and it completely changed our relationship to groceries. Before going to the food bank, our grocery budget was $200 a month, and all this money was really being spent on breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now with the food bank, our grocery budget is still $200 a month, but because we're able to pick up some of our groceries from the food bank, we are able to use our grocery budget for snacks, for food fantasies, for fruit. The food bank allows us to feel like we have access to more than just the bare minimum, and it also allows the meals that we make at home to be more diverse, to not have to cut out half of the ingredients of every recipe that we see because we just can't afford all of them. And that brings us to the end of this video and the end of my 3-part finance series. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I really hope that some of the tips I shared today are tips that you can incorporate into your grocery shopping journey. Grocery shopping is one of my favorite things to do, and I think a big part of it is because I'm not as stressed about affording groceries. I really hope it does the same for you. Okay, see you in the next one. Bye!